Hi, friends. It's John Benham here, and here at Trinity Hall, and Wendelin is here, safe distancing, and we are doing our best to show you today a little bit about what 2 meters or us imperialists 6 feet looks like. So we got this marker, and where Wendelin's holding, that is 6 feet, and that's one direction. And now Wendelin's going to go into the other corner. And now we're going to take a look at, just imagine if you were to sit at the end of the table here, we have the 6 feet apart. And kind of just gives us an idea of the challenge it is that we will discover that when we come back, wherever we go really, we're going to have to find safe ways to keep a safe distance. So I've been told that I'm shouting a lot more, but I am trying to communicate when people are not as close to me. And I think we're all learning that some of us, I maybe confess this, I'm a people person, so I have to remember to not get too close to people because it's just a natural tendency for me. And so I do appreciate when a friend says, whoa. And that's, of course, why the masks are so important when you're in enclosed areas if you're not doing like Wendelin and I are. So how are you finding this, Wendelin, in terms of just learning what you're experiencing?
From the beginning of COVID, I think I was a bit in shock the first couple of weeks. And I found that I wandered around my house a lot and I didn't get things done and I couldn't focus. I was just processing information. There was too much coming at me too fast. I have a daughter who's expecting a baby in September, so I was worried about her. And I was counting my baby chicks, my 4 kids, and where they were and who they're with and what the risk was with their jobs.
Yes.
So all that was rolling around in my head. Yeah. How to work at Trinity, what would happen at the church, because there were a lot of meetings. And lots of decisions that had to be made very, very quickly.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
I'm even hearing people, and myself a little bit, like this, still trying to focus, whether some people say, I guess can't even read a book quite yet. And I found myself in and out. I've zoned in on a few books, and then I have days where I can't focus too. So I think it's how we cope with change. It's a stressful time. We haven't done this before. And so it's quite a learning. I even saw something today for the first time on the TV, and it was a message that women who are really struggling at home, particularly with a partner who can be aggressive or even violent, and so they're offering by TV a signal, which is your hand goes up like this. If you're ever in a Zoom conversation, it's a message for women to say, I need help, which I had never seen that before. And they had it right on the TV in the news time this morning. So it reveals to me just how stressful life is in general, but right now it's extra stressful. But at the same time, we're all aware, I think, that there's a lot of good things happening too. And that's where you get kind of like, you feel pretty discouraged at times, but then you start hearing, if not hearing stories, or you're a witness to some real kindness that people, are offering. And I just continue I know I walk my dog, but I'm meeting people every day. Today I met a young couple from India. They've only been in Canada a few monmes, and they happen to have a golden retriever, and we got talking, and it's just wonderful that it certainly wasn't happening 4 months ago or 5 months ago. People are talking more to each other, strangers. We're more open that way.
But we're also not taking things for granted.
That's right.
Because we miss the people that we're used to having in our life close by, that we can talk to face, and we need that for our mental health. That's right. For happiness, we need that connection.
Yes. And as the reopening committee does their due diligence and is trying their best to, discern how to re-enter Trinity so that safety and the lives of every single person entering here is the utmost importance. We also know there's a deep hunger for people just to reconnect and to do that safely. So you got that tension going on of how do we get back together beyond a screen, right? Beyond the telephone, as helpful as those technologies certainly have been for us. So I've invited Wendelin this week to share a message with me, and I think both of us are rather spontaneous and I hope creative as well. Reverend Galen's taking a week off, and so one thing I do know about my personality is I actually enjoy dialogue, and I seem to learn more. And I remember years ago in ministry, I had a fellow named Bill come up to me and said, I'm not much of a churchgoer, but I tell you what, I get interested in church if I could actually raise my hand when you were preaching and have a conversation with you. And he was a strong thinking. I really appreciated this young man. And the point he was trying to make is, not everyone learns from just listening to somebody on Sunday. Many of us learn in conversation or listening to two people or a group converse. So I hope this Sunday is going to be that. I feel it already, just talking about the experiences that we're going through, really helpful. So anything else you want to add before we move on?
I want to shift the cameras.
Yeah, shift the cameras, good.
So I want yours on me and mine on you.
Okay.
Okay? Because I think now people get the sense of how far away we're going to be.
That's a good.
And it's not easy. It still doesn't feel close.
No.
It still doesn't feel close.
It's helpful, but it's not the same. That's the big lesson in all this is we want to get back to worshiping together, but the truth of it is it will not be the same, and that's a big lesson for us. It's going to be a journey, And can we sing with a mask on? I have no idea. I'm hearing no singing, no dancing. But, not even shaking hands. I mean, really a strange place.
But I think hope makes us resilient.
I agree wholeheartedly that hope is, and probably that's the most common thing that I hear from people is people just need hope. And whether it's a hope that maybe a vaccine's around the corner, only God knows, and scientists are working hard, but the hope that somehow this will pass, our life will return to some kind of normalcy. It's never going to be quite the same. I heard a doctor say this, a dentist say the other day, so incredible, like in some ways, from one perspective, things are going to become a lot better, and they are becoming better. Maybe somehow we care for each other, and that's a pretty profound statement to make, Or people just saying, it's a time to adjust society so that the homeless and the poverty and the hurting people are not just forgotten about. And this gives us time to ponder this. And I'm a news guy. I watch the morning news, and I was impressed. Ben Mulroney made a statement this morning after a pretty painful experience with his wife, who's been in the news concerning some poor choices of communication that she made, and she's, I'm sure, regretful. But the most important thing that I heard in Ben Mulroney's statement is that they're learning as a couple, he's learning as a privileged white man that there is so much more to learn about Black lives and what it means to be privileged and to be white. And so I was really impressed with it, and he was noting some steps that he and his wife are taking to learn more and to seek change. So, it is interesting how this time of pandemic is awakening us to all kinds of other issues, from, whether it's indigenous crises. There's reserves, we know, in Canada that still don't have any water. And as my son says, leaders for some reason are just not making that happen, because it's probably about dollars and cents, but it's not happening. And they've been talking about it for years. So I heard something pretty profound today too, because I preached on patience yesterday. But you can't be patient when it comes to injustice. You can't be patient when it comes to discrimination. There's no patience in that. The time has come, and some change has to happen. So,
I'm going to shift the camera.
I shift the cameras. Okay, a little funny one, because I do enjoy a little sense of humor. The family's having a lot of laughter about this, but I am wearing my favorite shirt. Like, I'm afraid I've had it more years than I wish to tell you. And during COVID, I'm wearing it 90% of the time. I do wash it. But I didn't think I was that eccentric, but I really find comfort in something. I like this shirt. I don't know, I like the look. Anyway, it's, I've worn it a lot, and they're kind of joking about it. And I said, you know what I'm really learning is, for me, life is pretty simple. I don't need a lot of things. And it's interesting that I find comfort in wearing something that I just really like. So I'm not sure how you find comfort. I know some people say it's their teddy bear, or it's a certain show they listen to or watch every day. How about you, Wendelin? Do you have something that, when you're looking for hope, where do you find comfort? What gives you comfort? I never thought a shirt would, but I do feel some comfort in shirt I like.
Flannel nighties.
It's kind of humid and hot for that.
Yes, it's too hot right now. But I live alone. I have a friend who's a boarder, and I have my dog.
And you have your dog.
And I have 4 kids, and I'm not getting hugs.
Yeah.
And I really miss it. I really miss that human touch. And I find some people are talking to me more than they ever did.
Yes.
I have comfort in our Trinity staff meetings because that is my one guaranteed connection to people.
Yes.
That is interactive every week.
That's right. And the surprise to me about, I thought, technology, you're in your own homes, but what surprises me, people are willing to share even deeply their joys, but also their struggles, and do it through a screen. I'm surprised by that, and it's that's really quite a beautiful gift that people can still, if they're sad or tears. I remember after you spoke about Black Lives and to go downtown Guelph and what that experience, it was a very emotional, and even though you were on a screen, everyone on the staff could feel that emotion. So it's a beautiful gift of that connection each week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to miss doing the children's time.
Yeah.
Because we're doing the gum
summer
sharings of the
Yeah.
services.
And I'm sure some of us at Trinity are just going to miss that it's not the Trinity service every week. It's going to be Three Willows, and it's going to be Dublin, and it's going to be Harcourt, and then you'll see myself or Galen. So there'll be something of a blessing and a gift, but we'll also be missing something as well. So maybe we'll really be looking forward to September when it's back to Trinity again. So, yeah.
But I think challenge is good for us. I think that is the only place where we grow.
Yeah.
And I have a friend who is from Sierra Leone, and he long ago told me that you should never stay in a job longer than 7 years. You need to not get too comfortable with your existence and with life and what you do.
Yeah.
You need to push yourself to be a little bit uncomfortable, because that's when we can learn.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's a challenge for a lot of us in life, whatever we do, and so, no, challenge is, we can all get too comfortable, So, I don't know if we're going to get comfortable with this COVID journey, but, because it seems like a pretty, huge shift. Everyone just continues to say to me, I never thought this would ever happen. I never, ever imagined it. And, I listen to people who've come through World War II or come through the Depression, and they're like, never quite imagined this happening.
Yeah.
So, but, so scripture-wise, there's a lot of different texts that are floating around in my mind this week. There's one that comes often to me is Jesus said, "Come to me, all who are heavy laden, and I'll give you rest, and I'll give you peace." And so I find comfort in that one, and I try to imagine what Jesus would mean. What is his peace when you are heavy laden? And a lot of us feel that way right now. That's kind of one of my I got lots of little favorite texts, but that's one. Is there anything that jumps out at you scripture-wise that I'm putting Wendelin on the spot right now? But is there anyone that jumps out at you?
My favorite Bible verse that I used to have taped to my clock radio when I was a teenager is from 2 Timothy, I think. It's, God has not promised a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind.
Yes.
And that is my anchor, really.
It's your anchor.
Yes.
Yeah. Say that again. It's a lovely passage.
So God has not promised a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind.
Yeah.
And the sound mind part is really interesting. I heard a therapist at a workshop once tell us that when you're having an argument or a disagreement or a passionate talk, someone has to stay conscious.
Yes.
Because if you're both so in the moment and you're not conscious of what you're doing, you can't be watching what you do.
Yes.
And another thing we did in that workshop was he asked us to write our values, our most important values, on slips of paper.
Yes.
And then he asked us to role play a recent disagreement we had. And then he asked us, when did you drop that value in that conversation? When did you drop that value in the conversation?
Yes.
And that was how we found out how well we were living our values and when we let go of them.
Yes.
So some people have talked about COVID as a reset button.
Yes.
And I think it is, there is always a blessing. There's always a blessing.
Yeah.
And the blessing is that we are not taking things for granted anymore, and that we are rethinking how we're doing things.
Yes.
We're rethinking what really matters. If I could have a hug, I'd give away my furniture.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, if I could give a hug to my kids, I'd give away my furniture.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not important. All the little things, going to the stores and things like that that used to be important are not so important anymore.
Yes.
But human beings don't have really good memories.
Yeah, we're forgetful.
And I wonder how long it'll take us to forget this.
Yes.
And I do hope that we will keep the good learnings from this.
Yes. Yeah, and some have argued the longer that we live with this, the greater the chance is that we will start to live into a new kind of way of being. Well, we're going to wait and see. We're going to find out, aren't we, how we do evolve. I was so touched by this dear friend who's like 90 years old this year and said, she's really feeling for the younger people right now. She said, she's had a very full life, and yes, she's lonely, and she's thankful for PSW workers and maybe go outside and enjoy a little bit breeze and sunshine. But she said, it's really the young people she really feels for, that whether they're missing their fun graduation or the summer job they were looking forward to. It's such an exciting time of your life when you're young. And I think that was really thoughtful of her, just to be, I feel I got total comfort. I am so blessed. But for a lot of young people, it's a very challenging time right now. And they're of course naturally asking, what's the chances of COVID really hurting me anyway? And look at how my life has changed. I heard a young person say recently, I'm probably more likely to die in a car accident than COVID. So, and these are realities that our young people are wrestling with. But
I think the whole reopening thing is going to be interesting, because I think we hold values at different levels.
Yes.
So I have the value for me and my family, and then there's a little different value for another group of people, and there's a different social value that I have, and sometimes my values actually conflict, and I have to make a decision. So part of it is I want other people to be safe, and it's not all just about me and what I want, because what I want and what I need are different. And sometimes I think people are just so tired of being alone, and they get upset and angry. It's too long. It's not good for us mentally to be alone that long.
That's right.
And not everyone has family to talk to. Not everyone can Zoom, because now we're also conscious there's a digital divide too with people in Canada. It's not just a third world issue. Not everyone has access to Zoom. Not everybody has internet.
Yeah.
So
It's,
a lot of different things are coming up to the front of our
Yes.
consciousness
Yes.
that we sort of have lost sight of.
you know, it's the. I certainly, you make a really great point about being, you know, concerned of the values of others, and just to make sure that we don't forget others. And yet, I hear it in my family all the time, this tension of, at some point, we need to find a way to get back to life in terms of just whether that's school, church. I mean, you hear it pretty clearly right now. You know, the movie theaters are going to be opening in the near future. So as things come back, I certainly hear more and more like it's time to find a safe way to do that. And I think, you know, the summer is going to be really helpful for the church. We're going to be witnessing how society is adjusting to that, and conscious of a second wave, of course. And we're going to find some churches that I've noted already, like some country churches are already gathering back. And but there's pretty big logistics about getting people in and out of the sanctuary. I had one colleague with over 100 people every Sunday said, you know, even if we go to 2 services on Sunday, we're going to have to disinfect the sanctuary after service 1 departs. So we need a transition time. So it's not like 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock. It's not going to happen. So the church might be looking at one time on a Sunday, one time on a Wednesday, if you're going to gather 40, 50, whatever the number might be at 30% capacity, as it is now. So.
And how do you choose who you want to be within that service? You're going to be missing somebody.
You will be.
You're going to be missing somebody.
As you know, people will be signing in to church. Leave us your telephone number, because if there's anything that happens health-wise, we need to know how to contact you. So suddenly it won't be just showing up at church. It will be a process of, we need to know you're coming. It's and so it's going to be a very different way of being church. It's certainly possible. It's just we're going to have to think these details through, and it's you know, change is in the air. No matter how we we might resist it, it's there. It's here. You know.
And there's a lot happening behind the scenes in terms of the decision making.
Sure it is.
And I know that it's a weight on the people that are making those decisions.
Yeah.
And I thank them on behalf of Trinity.
Yeah, that's right.
And at the latest GUM Town Hall, they were talking about the different groups that use our spaces in our United Churches,
yes,
and
yes,
how to help them come back, and what kind of information to give them at this time. And all I could think of was all the scouts and the guides and all the groups that use the space. And we're not going to be able to use as many spaces at one time, depending on how our churches are laid out.
Exactly.
And how do you say no to a child in that group? You're not just saying no to that group. You have to think of all those little faces and their disappointment. Exactly. And saying, how can we do this creatively? This might mean that a group comes every 2 weeks instead of maybe saying no to a certain group.
That's right.
So I hope we can be really creative.
Yeah, that is so true. Well, my dear, I'm getting messages already calling me, and I know that we've, by your clock, we've had a good 20 minutes of chit-chat. So
I want to share something with you.
How about you close with that?
All right. So when John asked me to do this little message chat with him, he wanted to talk about hope. And I found this in one of the Global Ministries publications about a missionary that worked for 38 years in Lesotho. So he had 2 African proverbs that he shared. One was, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with others. And that's about the importance of community and collaboration in communities in African culture. And the other African proverb that he shared was, a person is a person through other people. Motho ke motho kabatho babang. So we have all been shaped by our contact with other people. And
People
that's
feel-
why we feel alone right now.
Yeah. We're
But
all shared.
alone and lonely are different,
They are.
and we can be together in spirit even if we cannot be physically.
True.
And I know we can be creative, and I am so proud of Trinity
Yeah.
for how this has been handled, and that we're showing our love to each other, and we feel strong still.
Yes.
We feel
Yeah.
strong in this.
Yes. And everyone is so grateful for the phone calls and the drive-bys and the little ways that people are caring for each other. And, you know, you realize we are more than a building. We are people of God, and we're part of a body. And we're part of this beautiful world we've been blessed with. So thanks for taking some risk, and what a fun time just to come together and share. Thanks, Wendelin.
Thanks, John.
Yeah.